Welcome, tribe. It is Tuesday in Australia here, Tuesday morning. We did not do a live stream yesterday because we were celebrating Australia Day. It's a public holiday. It's also my Australia Day. It's also my, which is a very controversial topic. We won't go into that at the moment.
If you're not Australian, we don't say Australia in Australia. We say Australia.
Yeah, we shorten everything. It's also my son's first birthday on the weekend, which was very exciting. And we got to catch up with some friends. Rad came to the city and we caught up. So yeah, it was really, really good. How was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great coming down and hanging out with all our friends and our kids and everything. It was a different experience, isn't it? 10 years ago, the same group of people, we were all getting together at 9 or 10 o'clock on a Friday night and going partying, and now we're all getting together at 9:30 on a Saturday, and everyone was gone about an hour and a half later when their kids needed to have a nap.
It was hot, yeah. Now, I've done things a little bit in reverse today. I should have introduced what we're going to talk about, but we'll do that now, as no need for formalities here on Unity V. And I did my thing that you say that I always do. I'm going to be really self-conscious of that.
And you got to look into that camera.
Yeah, okay. So today we're going to be talking about mobility versus flexibility and why, when and how you should do both of them and why they're very important. We're also going to be answering a couple of really, really good questions that have come through over the past week. So we'll get into all that and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
And we're back.
So
this morning, I am going to start off with, I'm going to talk to you about the difference between flexibility and mobility. It's a really big buzz thing in the fitness industry now about getting more flexible and getting more mobile, which is absolutely awesome because it's such a critical part of training. And I honestly believe that if you go back 5 or 10 years ago when flexibility training was just unheard of in gyms, I reckon the reason why it is and why it was is because trainers are crap at it.
Yeah.
And when you're crap at something, you don't teach people to do so. I mean, why would you? Why would you, if someone's paying you $100 an hour or whatever you charge for personal training, why would you be teaching someone something that you don't value yourself at all? So when a trainer can't do it themselves, they're not going to be passing it on to their clients. And I think that just filtered through the whole industry. You know, everybody just valued being strong and looking good. But there's definitely a swing in another direction, and gyms like us are leading the way with putting flexibility and mobility before strength. It's the first thing we focus on here. And so just really quickly, so what is the difference between flexibility and mobility? I'll make this as simple as possible. Flexibility is the act of stretching the muscles to create a new range of motion. So you stretch to become more flexible. So the best way to describe this that people can understand is trying to achieve the middle splits. You stretch your legs out and over time you become more flexible, and one day you can do the middle splits. Mobility is the action of taking your joints through their full range of motion. So if I go like this with my shoulder, I'm doing mobility training. Okay, so I'm just mobilizing my joint. I'm taking my joint through its full range of motion. Then you've got loaded mobility and active mobility. And loaded mobility, this is where people start getting a little bit confused. Loaded mobility is when you stretch your muscle, mobilize your joints. So the muscle is stretching, the joint is going through its full range of motion, but the muscle is under load. So a really easy example would be, if I had a dumbbell in my arm, in my hand, and I stretched out my elbow as far as it would go, but kept a little bit of tension in the bicep, that would actually be loaded mobility for the bicep, okay? So we do, in our loaded mobility routine, there's almost all of the movements are loaded mobility, where we do loaded mobility for the hamstrings, adductors. Any of you that have got that routine know what I'm talking about. And then active mobility is when your, or end range strength is another way to describe it. That's when you take your joints to their full range of motion and then create strength by strengthening the opposing muscle group. So the really common one that people work for that in calisthenics and gymnastics is the pancake. So you first have to create flexibility in the hamstrings and a little bit in the adductors to be able to get a good pike or a good straddle pike position. And then once you go down all that way, when you try to lift your legs by activating the hip flexors and the abdominal muscles, you're working end range strength or active mobility, because you're taking the hamstrings to their full range of motion, and then you're trying to strengthen the opposing muscle group to create strength in that end range. So I hope that helps people to understand a bit the difference between flexibility and mobility and the different types of mobility.
Yeah, that's pretty much the straightforward answer. That one of the big questions that are coming up for a lot of people is when to do what, and this is really important because a lot of people get this wrong. There is certainly a large amount of evidence to indicate that there are more beneficial and less beneficial times to practice flexibility and mobility. And it's pretty important to make sure that you get it right, and then also get your programming right so that you're making the most of your time. You're making your time very efficient, because when it comes down to it, and we have this coming through a lot with our online tribe in our movement mastermind, how do you fit it all in to a workout and get everything done that you need to get done, you know? And not everyone has the luxury like Rad and I of training for 2 hours to sometimes 3 hours a day. So let's put that into perspective for people. How do we put it into a program? How do we put it into a workout? Let's just start by explaining what our workout is like, and then let's reverse engineer what they can do if they've got less time, or what they should be doing. And guys, here's the thing. Everyone, you need to take into consideration, you need to take what we say with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of variables that come into play here. One is time management and how much time you have to dedicate to your training every day. Our training is prioritized. It's like our life, you know. So we are able to quite literally reverse engineer our entire day. Heck, we've reverse engineered our entire business around our ability to facilitate our training, because it's so important to us. We want to lead by example and practice what we preach. So there's an element of personalization that needs to go into the thought process here, and there are other variables that need to be factored in. And we urge you guys, especially the guys in the Movement Mastermind, to reach out to us and ask questions if you're sort of struggling, because we don't always know your personal circumstances. We don't know your starting physical capabilities and injury restrictions and things like that. We talked a little bit about the fact that stretching can be detrimental if you've got torn muscles and tendons and things like that. So all of those things, those are extra variables. But let's just start with what we do, and then let's talk about what like someone should do for if they've only got an hour.
Yeah. So the first thing that you want to do in any workout is do mobility training. So you want to mobilize your joint. You want to just access that full range of motion to actually, I'm going to take it a step back. The first thing you do is a little bit of cardio training. So we do a minute of high intensity interval training where we do a combination of burpees, horizontal running, squat jumps and air squats. Basically things that are the biggest bang for your buck, elevate the heart rate real quick, that doesn't require any equipment that you can do anywhere. And you do this for a bunch of reasons. When you warm up, it increases your core temperature, your muscles become more elastic, you increase as your cardiovascular system starts working and your heart rate increases, you get what's called vasodilation, so all your blood vessels, your veins and arteries start to dilate and become more elastic. More blood is prioritized to the muscles and to the end of the limbs instead of the organs and the brain function, and all of this reduces your risk of injury, increases your potential for strength, increases the rate, the central nervous system's ability to contract muscles quickly, which you need in a workout. Also, how would you describe what it does to the synovial fluid in the joints? I always get stuck on this one.
Synovial fluid is like lubricant. It's like the
it softens it up and it increases the synovial fluid. It increases
the viscosity of the synovial fluid.
Yeah, so basically it lubricates your joints more. So everything, basically, like that increase in the heart rate it just prepares your entire body and central nervous system for the workout that's to come. And if you're not doing that, if the only thing that you change for your workouts in the next week or month is to just do 1 minute of high intensity cardio at the start, do that every single workout and see what happens.
Yeah.
The next thing that you do
and high intensity, guys, means 100%.
Like a balls to the wall.
You go as hard as you can
go.
for 60 seconds. You should be out of breath in 60 seconds. And I see people half-ass it in here often. It's not about that. It's not about just getting through that. It's a minute, for Christ's sake.
This is injuries aside as well. Please don't anyone say, oh, but that's going to be bad for someone with this or that injury. Of course it is.
Yeah, we don't know
guys.
what
Let's not be silly.
Are, yeah.
Okay, we're talking about if you don't have an injury, if you've got an injury, you always have to work around it. And we just, for the sake of just not going down this rabbit hole of having to answer every little what about this and what about that question, we're just going to talk about generally speaking. So once you've done that, we then do mobility training, and mobility training again is taking the joints through their full range of motion. So the way that we like to do this, for those of you that have bought our online program, if you get our 18-minute stretching routine, we included the loaded mobility routine. And the reason why we actually did that is because, in all honesty, the loaded mobility routine is a much better routine to do as a warm-up, and that's why we threw that in as a freebie for you guys, because if you just had the 18-minute stretching routine, you're not getting the best routine to do at the start of your workout. So we threw that in as a freebie for you. But what we do now, and what's more effective and just more evolved, is the mobility mini course. And all it is just it takes the joints through full range of motion, but also creates muscle activation as well in very light loads. So it's just switching on the central nervous system's ability to activate those muscles that you're about to do. And the whole process, everything that we do, basically, if you're doing an upper body workout, you have more of a focus on your upper body movements, and vice versa for lower body. At the end of that warm-up, it should only take you between probably 12 and 15 minutes maximum. If you're doing it longer than that, there's one reason which is acceptable. If you've bought one of our online routines and you're learning how to do it, of course it's going to take you time. But as you get better and you understand the routine, the warm-up shouldn't be, like, we make a really big point of, it's not a time to chit-chat. It's not a time to sort of mosey along. The warm-up is the time to set the tone for the workout. And from the moment that we start that cardio training, it is game on. And we do our warm-up, our entire warm-up is done to a timer. We have a timer, an interval timer set, so that you're not, there's no stuffing around. It's done exactly the same every single day, no matter what mood you're in.
Yep.
Then the next thing that we do, and I'm just going to finish my thing off quickly so Yani can jump in. The next thing we do is, during the workout, during our strength training, we always do flexibility, so passive stretching between sets of muscle groups that aren't being used in the workout. So an upper body workout, we do lower body stretching, and a lower body workout, we do upper body stretching. And then we also do some of our end range strength, or our active mobility, between sets of our workout. And then at the very end, if we still have more mobility or training to do the hard stuff, the stuff that's hard on the central nervous system, like the loaded mobility, we'll do that right at the end of the workout. And that's a nutshell how we recommend you use stretching, flexibility, mobility.
Yeah. And I'll say that again, I'll reiterate this. If we gun it and we do it really efficiently, we get our workout done in around about 2 hours, 2 hours 15. And if we have a few interruptions throughout, it easily draws out to 2.5 hours. Sometimes 3 hours, yeah. And look, we aim to get it done. Like, I'm a little bit more time poor than Rad. I need a bit more time doing administrative work around the gym here. So he will often train for 3 hours and I only train for 2. Richie, who's behind the camera producing the show, he will usually break it up into 2 workouts, and he often only gets time for an hour and a half in the morning, and then he does an hour of mobility in the afternoon. So there are different ways of doing it, and you have to make it work. But the reality is that to get a really high level, like I'm talking way beyond, you'd say like standard general populations is here in physical performance and mental performance too, because we're training our brains as well. And then I'd say optimal is here, and then mastery is up here. And Rad and I are trying to get between optimal and mastery. We're shooting for that level, and it just really depends on what you guys want to achieve with your physical and mental capability. You know, we don't want to be optimal. We don't want to be someone says, oh wow, those guys are good at what they do. We want to be known as some of the best at what we do, and that requires a lot of work. So I don't want you to compare yourself to the amount of work that we do on a day and go, oh, well, I could never do that, therefore I will never be very good. That's ridiculous. If you do an hour a day, you'll be amazing. In 2 years' time, you'll be amazing. If you do 2 hours a day, you'll be twice as good. You know, so just keep doing what you can do and factor it in. If you want to avoid ending up in a gym like ours doing remedial and rehab work because you've hurt yourself, I urge you guys to pay special attention to the warm-up that Rad spoke about, the 60 seconds of cardio and the mobility work before you train. And you should absolutely prioritize the upper and lower body flexibility work that you need most between your active sets, your strength sets. And the key there is what Rad said. I'll reiterate again. You do the opposite body group. So if you're working on upper body strength, you do lower body mobility or flexibility. If you're working on lower body strength, you do upper body flexibility. And that's really all you need to focus on. And every new thing you do, like the 18-minute stretch routine, or we're releasing a whole bunch of new programming, it's really an add-on. I like to think of the 18-minute routine as a standalone workout that you do when, like I do it when I'm away from the gym and I need a rest or recovery or something like that, you know?
Well, it's all down to where you are on your journey, because like the reason why we have so many different mobility and stretching programs that are available for people online is because our own training has evolved, and it's actually because of Yani that you guys get access to all of those programs, because I said, oh, let's just, you know, make available the one that we're doing now, our most current and recent one. And Yani pulled me back and said, well, that's not the journey that we went on. That's not how we got flexible. What we did was we did this, this, and this. And so that's why we sell the programs in the order that we sell them in, and we make them available in that order, because that is what we did. And it works because I'm 40, Yani's 38. And
39 in 2 months.
Yeah, wow, I'm 41 soon. I know, Jesus. And I'm more flexible now than I was 20 years ago when I was doing Kung Fu, and I was doing it 6 days a week for 3 or 4 hours a day. I am easily more flexible than I was back then, and my body feels better. And it's because we created these routines and, you know, went through it. Anyway, I don't want to ham on about that. What I do want to say is something that I completely forgot. You were saying something that made me... What were you talking about?
I don't know, but I'll talk about something that's important to.
No, that's it. What Yani said about that idea of, you know, being optimal and being masters and having, you know, that we're sitting somewhere between that point and trying to push the limits to get up to that mastery level. That is really important, that you don't let that disillusion you. I did that for a decade with Kung Fu, because I started Kung Fu when I was 19, and I really went for it. You know, I went harder than what most people in the Western world do by a long shot with martial arts. But I always compared myself to the Chinese professionals, the people that are the best in the world at it. And the truth is, it doesn't matter how much work I did, I will never, ever, ever be able to achieve a standard in Kung Fu as someone in China that started it when they were 4 years old. Because they are in a culture where they all do it at school, and the best of the best get handpicked at 4 years old, and they start training for 5 or 6 hours a day every day. And so the same could be said for you if you're starting your flexibility journey and looking at people like Yani and Richard and me, and you think, oh my God, I've got so far to go. Well, yeah, you do have so far to go. We're a lot further on that journey than you are, but that is absolutely not a reason to say, oh, I'm not going to do this, it's a waste of my time. That's absolutely rubbish. Even if the worst thing that happened, even if the best thing that was happened is that your flexibility didn't get any worse now as you got older, that would be time well spent.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If you don't start stretching and you don't start prioritizing mobility training, it is going to get worse. Wherever you are now, whatever you think is bad now, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's super important to create a system or follow a system that's proven to deliver results.
Yep.
Don't become someone's science experiment and let them just try and figure things out on you. It's much more effective to have a system that has delivered results for a variety of different people, irrespective of their demographical restraints and their time restraints and things like that, you know. And that's really why we've systemized what we do and created these programs. It's delivered amazing results for us. It's delivered amazing results for our clients, and it's delivering amazing results now for our online community as well. So guys, just keep slaying them and keep asking questions. Now we do have a couple of quick questions to answer.
We've pretty much answered them. I'll go through them quickly. There's just a couple of questions. So I'm going to go to Sebastian Cassette Massey. I hope I've said that right. Has said, what is the loaded 18-minute routine? Is that the 18-minute stretch or the mobility or something else? So we did answer that before. The loaded mobility routine is a separate routine to the 18-minute stretching routine. It was an evolution for us when we moved from doing passive stretching in our warm-up to doing loaded mobility in our warm-up. And the real reason why we do it is to do some mobility training before our workout, so it doesn't weaken the nervous system and it doesn't increase your risk of injury, because when you do static stretching before strength training, it does increase your risk of injury and it reduces your strength potential. But also what it does is it does a double whammy where it teaches our members a way to do loaded mobility. It teaches them the correct way, so that then when they come up to us and say, what do I need to do to make my hamstrings better? We say, the single leg good morning that you do in the warm-up, do 3 sets of that every day. So that we were doubling up and teaching them. So I hope that answers your question, Sebastian. And then Gal Nissen from our movement mastermind group is saying, hello everyone, I'm doing the pancake, middle splits and back bridge routine 2 times per week each. Is it okay to do the 18-minute routine before? First thing I want to say, Gal, is that is absolutely awesome. If you're doing that and you're consistently doing that, you are going to achieve some amazing results, brother. So well done. And the answer is yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The best thing to do, you can do anything that you want to do to warm up the body before you do those advanced mobility routines and loaded mobility routines. You want to get the body as warm as possible. And if you've got the time to do the 18-minute routine first and prepare the body before you do those loaded mobility routines, then absolutely you can do that.
Yep.
And that's all the questions, and we're coming to the end of our show now. Is there anything else you want to say?
Absolutely. No, that's pretty much it, guys. I think that we're having a really, really good program mesocycle at the moment. We're coming off a big hypertrophy split, so anyone out there who's feeling a little bit stiff and sore, who's following the program, stick with it. This is the final week of muscular hypertrophy. Next week we move into our strength block, and then we have our deload week, which I certainly could use. I'm feeling pretty stiff and sore.
I'm feeling very sore.
But I have experienced huge gains over this first mesocycle. So well done everyone for sticking up with the program and getting through it. We are crushing it. 2019 is going to be a massive year for our physical development. We're going to talk a little bit about mental development tomorrow morning, so tune in for that. And we've got some awesome content that's getting published next weekend as well. New videos, new workouts. Second phase of the Foundations strength program is coming at you this week. Hopefully you caught the last phase, the deadlift workout that came out on Sunday, yesterday, or it's Saturday for the US tribe. And otherwise, guys, keep hitting up that like button on our videos on YouTube. Get all your friends to subscribe. We are on a mission to really dent the health and fitness industry and get people focusing more on how the body performs and feels and a little bit less about how the body looks. Let's go. 2019, massive year. Thanks for joining, guys.
See you soon, everyone.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.